Listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. I have here Mr. Bo Bissett, and we're going to talk about, spiritual guidance today. You are a holistic type spiritual guide.
Yeah, God's a good word to say,
yeah. Well, you got quite the story, so let's just start things off by you tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, cool. My name's Bo. I am here where I am today because of the self-sabotage and destruction that I did to my body. And if I hadn't put myself through that ringer, I wouldn't be talking to you today because I wouldn't have tried to heal. And I guess healing I reached a point of needing to heal in my late 30s. I'd abused myself with alcohol and drugs, and my body started breaking down. And I reached a point where it was enough. Enough was enough. My aunt got breast cancer, and I was staying with her and my uncle at that time. They almost rescued me from Vietnam, where I was passing out on the street drunk and sniffing heroin. And when my body started breaking down, my aunt found out she got breast cancer, and I was like, all right, man, I've got to turn it around. What are you doing? And I started looking, and the first thing I did was meditation, and then that really helped ground me. But then I started looking for answers, for why I was doing the things that I was doing. And one of the first books that I read was called Molecules of Emotion. And that book put a spotlight on the fact that our emotions affect us on our molecular level. Like, if we're happy, it makes our bodies happy and vibrant. If we're angry, then our body closes down and gets,
Yep.
And, that anger can literally kill us. And so I realized that that was my key. And so I thought through meditation, if I could, keep myself calm and work through that avenue, then I'd be all right. And it seemed like I would take a step forward, but then there was a step back. It was never two steps forward. It was always one step forward, one step back. And I just felt like I was just dancing this devilish dance of self-sabotage. And I was just never moving anywhere forward. I was just always stuck in this rut. So I started reading more. I started getting reading everything I could get my hands on. Tony Robbins, Dr. Joe Dispenza. And every time I would read something, I would just I would take a step forward and oh, this is it. But then I would just revert. And just, so I started doing Mind Valley courses. I traveled back to Asia, and I started looking into some healing stuff here. Been to all kind of obscure healing through Buddhist monks, and so one guy that was jabbing me literally with a stick, all over my body, jabbing me. My wife and I used to call him Jabber Doctor, because he would just jab me, and it hurt so bad. And I remember walking out of there after the second or third time, I was like, why are we doing this? It hurts so bad. And just step forward, step back, step forward. And I was just nothing, man. The woman that I'm with now, she's my first wife. We married a few years ago. And when I moved to Taiwan 5 years ago, we met after a month or two that I'd been here, and it was just boom, instant sparks. She's just the most amazing woman for me. But as great as our connection was, that we would have these big, huge arguments. And it was just a few years ago, we got to the point where our last argument was all right, this is it. Either you and I, we got to sort it out, or, we got to move on. And when we had first met, she was on board with me, healing, because she had been in a relationship that was not good for her. And so we were pulling each other, pushing each other, helping each other along, through our own journey of healing and getting better. And yeah, so this last big fight that we had, big argument, was like, this is it, we got to fix it. So she knew a Buddhist monk who she does meditation with. And so we went, talked to her, and she recommended this course to this individual. This guy was in America, and he was trained in this modality. It's called the spiral. It was invented by this guy down in Australia. And so I was like, I'll try whatever, I love this woman. I want to keep her, and first of all, I want myself to be better, because a lot of the arguments and my whole life is up to this point has been me fighting myself. So I was like, I got to figure it out. I've tried everything that I could get my hands on, and nothing has worked. Nothing has changed. I'm still broke financially. I'm still broke with my life relationships. My body is still not, it's not healing like I wanted it to, because I ran myself through the ringer when I was younger with a couple of car accidents where I almost killed myself. It's just, anyway, that's just scratching the surface, but there's no need to go in too much detail. But so I went through, I talked to this guy, and I was like, all right, man, this sounds like something that, because, it talks about hitting the emotions, finding the emotions and, moving those emotions. I was like, yeah, man, I'm pretty sure that's, that's my thing. I've been embodying these emotions. I've been holding on to these emotions, and these emotions have been dictating my life, and, have painted the picture that I've been living in. And the first session that we went through, boom, I was like, holy, this is it, man. This is it. I cried for, I don't know, half a day after that first session. Realized that I finally realized that to the family, friends, everybody around me, would always, point out, well, dude, you're not you sure you want to be doing this? Throughout my whole life, it had been people were nudging me and telling me, and, it's one thing if other people tell you, you're doing something wrong, but when you actually see it, and when you see that, when you have that awareness, and that's what this program gives you, it's this self-awareness. It's the boom, the thought bubbles, there's these little bubbles of awareness that just pop, and you see the things that you think, the things that you do, the things that you say, the things that you feel, the energy that you give it off. Because a lot of the things that we do that dictate that, a lot of the actions that we take in our day-to-day life are subconscious. We're not aware of the things that we're actually saying, doing, thinking, feeling, the energy we're giving off. And you can be, for example, you can be in an argument, you can be having a conversation with your spouse or partner or anyone. And then 1 minute, you're going from talking, and the next minute it's full on argument. And you're like, whoa, where did that come from? It's most of the time it's just from just one little thing that we say, or one, it can also be an energy, right? If you've ever been in an argument with somebody, you can feel their anger just fuming off of them as well, right? Mm-hmm. So we give off that anger is actual energy. And so, yeah, when I'm connected with this, and when I saw when I realized that when those bubbles of awareness started popping, I said, I cried just uncontrollably for half a day, nonstop. I could not stop crying. And I didn't, because I realized, I was like, oh my God, I have been doing all of this to myself. I've been crushing myself. I've been burying myself. I've been self-sabotaging myself. I've been running away from money. I've been running away from my family. I've been running away from, this was not the first woman that I had in my life. I had other wonderful people and women in my life that I ran away from, literally packed my bags and just ran out the door. No, not down the street, but to another country. And when I when this happened, I was like, oh, this is it. And so we went through this program called the Spiral, and we got toward the end, got about, I don't know, maybe 3/4 of the way through. And I was like, I wonder if I could drink again. I was like, have you ever worked with somebody before and like and them, and them they had issues with alcohol? I don't like saying alcoholic, but if they had issues with alcohol, and then had been able to drink again, and they were like, no, I haven't. I was like, all right, cool. I just kept that in the back of my head, because I was like, if we're finding these emotions that have been dictating the way that my life has unfolded, right? And then I'm now aware of these, these things that I've been thinking, doing, feeling, and saying, and the energy as well. Like, if I'm aware of that now, if I'm consciously aware, then I should be able to, now I have a choice, right? Because when you're aware of the things that you're doing, you have a choice. You can either keep doing the things that you were doing, or you can move down, or you can make choices, put you down a different path. That's what that conscious awareness does, right? Subconsciously, if you don't know what you're doing, like, you're just gonna keep doing what you're doing, keep going down the same road. But once you have conscious awareness, you have a choice to do something different. So I was like, all right, cool. So I went through this program, and I actually started researching more into the techniques that they use. We use muscle testing, a meridian release chart, which is like a map of the body and where the emotions are located on the body. And then I started going through, once I started mastering the muscle testing and the meridian chart, and then there are release points on their body that correspond to where the emotions are located. Once I started mastering that stuff, then I came up with a pranayamic breath to help move the emotions, and some other techniques. And so I waited for a few months after that course. And I was like, man, I'm gonna try to drink. I'm gonna see what happens. And so one weekend I had a glass of wine. I think it was we had a Christmas party at our house or something like that. And my wife made some mulled wine, and I was like, I'm gonna have some. And I did. And then the next weekend, I had a couple more glasses of wine, right? Then a couple more weekends I had, a few more. And then I was like, all right, whoa. I can feel that. I can feel that monster in me, when I used to drink. As soon as I would have a sip, just a sip. As soon as it touched my lips, as soon as just that liquid dispersed over my tongue, I was like, oh, nice. And so I could feel that waking up. I was like, I've not gotten it. That's not it. So, but I was strong enough at that point, because I'd stopped drinking. It had been maybe 6 years before, since I'd had a drink up to that point. So the physical, like a lot of the physical dependency on alcohol, that was all gone. It was all mental and emotional at that point. So I was like, all right, so I need more work. I need to, be able to, just go inside deeper and, uncover what it is. And then I went through and spent months working on it. And I'm at the point now where I have a beer in the refrigerator, and I had 2 beers in the refrigerator. A couple months ago, I was working out in the garden, and I was a tall boy, so I had one of those tall boys after the working in the garden, and the other one's been in there for, I don't know, a couple months now. And every once in a while I'll see it, and I'm like, maybe I want it. Good, And now like I have that choice now. Like I can make that choice that, that beer can stay there, or I can wait till another hot day, where I'm, just sitting on the porch and I want it. I really, really want it, and I'll have it. But so
It's funny you talk about that, because I'm on a low carb diet, and my wife actually found some very low carb beer. So she bought a case of it, and she said, she asks me all the time, have you tried it yet? Have you tried it yet? Like, no. And that's been a month or two ago when she bought it. It's still sitting there.
That's nice, right?
It is, because otherwise something like that wouldn't last me an evening.
Yeah, I understand.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Well,
be careful. One thing that I learned, I've been on the low carb diet too for the last couple of months. You and I talked about that earlier, but so yeah, be careful with alcohol on a low carb diet, because alcohol, as soon as the body breaks it down, alcohol turns into sugar immediately, right? It's like
Yep.
straight into sugar. So that's the thing. Like, yeah, if you're on a low carb diet, I learned that recently too. I was like, well, I guess my beer will be saved for a dedicated cheat day, you know?
Right. That
So
know exactly what you mean.
yeah, man.
So, can you talk about what led up to your alcohol and all your partying and all that stuff?
Yeah, of course. So when I was younger, I discovered, like, through the work that I do now, I discovered that, when when I was a kid, I had a lot of I guess jealousy towards my younger brother. Like, I was the first kid. There were two of us. It was me and my younger brother. And I guess, like, when I was the first one out, right? So, I was living the dream. I had all my parents' attention. And then when my younger brother came, like, it was like, no, that's not the case anymore. So he got all the attention, right? And I know through digging around and finding these emotions that I was, I was hurt and I felt jealous and felt, neglected because of my little brother, right? So,
Mhm.
and then I also carried a lot of, a lot of that was carried as anger and manifested as anger. As a kid, I was really angry. Um, and I realized as well, like, that anger really started manifesting in my life at a young age, playing sports. I broke my ankles a couple of times before I was like 13 years old. I was playing soccer. That was my thing. And then when I was 15, I blew out my knee. I was going down the field. I got taken out from behind, an ACL, MCA, cartilage, like everything. Just lost my, and that's how I identified. I was like, I was a soccer player. Like, I was, that was my thing, right? And when I lost that, because yeah, the doctor was like, "You threw it, man." I was like, "Ah," and I feel like I lost my identity. And so that's when I really started, hitting a bottle, and I ate acid on a school trip, like a school bus trip. I was the only one. I just took a hit of acid, and, like, we took the night bus up to New York, and I was tripping my face off, and yeah, I was 15 years old. So um, yeah, and then from there, just really the whole drugs and alcohol just really got really bad. And high school, I got in some more trouble. In university, like, I was away from my parents. My dad was taking care of me, so you know I was I had the money to, and I partied, man. I partied my face off, and yeah, I paid for it dearly. Like I said, I got two car accidents. The first one that I got into, um, it was a single car accident, thank God. But I was drunk. I don't even remember getting in the car. Um, I tried to go home because my dad had called me. I was right after school, and I was supposed to go home for the summer and work. And I was like, yeah, give me a few more days, man. Just people graduating, some friends that I know, and, like, so we're partying and blah, blah, blah. So he gave me a guilt trip about, staying, So I got in the car, tried to drive home. A cop had seen the whole accident. It was late at night, like 2 o'clock in the morning. And apparently I was going 100 miles an hour. Ran off the side of the road, flipped the car, ran through chopped a telephone pole in half. And the cop who saw it, showed up, and then he called the ambulance or the medical services. He was like, y'all take your time. This dude is like, he didn't make it. And funny enough, like, my dead grandfather, I guess sometime during this whole process, like, came to me and, said, go back. It's not your time. It's not your time to leave yet. And from that day on, I regretted that decision for the next probably 20 years. And just more of that. I left in my 20s, left the States in my 20s to go overseas because I'd gotten into cocaine. And after that accident, there was another accident just 2 years after that, and I pretty much did the same thing. And so I got into cocaine, and then I couldn't tell my parents. I couldn't tell my parents that after all that I had put them through, that I now was like knee deep in cocaine. So I just ran away, and that was my response. Like when I was 12 years old, my parents sat me down, my brother and I down, and said, "We're getting a divorce." And I grew up in a small town in North Carolina. I knew what divorce was, but like none of my friends' parents were divorced. So it freaked me out. I jumped up out of we were in their bedroom. They sat us down on the bed and told us, and like I jumped up, ran out of the bedroom, ran through the house and down the street into the woods. I hid for the rest of the night until after dinner time because I was hungry, and I was like, oh man, I gotta go back. I'm hungry. I was 12 years old. I didn't know what else to do, right? And that was my de facto reaction from then until my 40s. Like still just anytime I felt anxious, anytime I felt uncomfortable, I would just run. And I've left countries. I've left.
Dang, man. So we've got a lot in common because some of the stuff you said is pretty close to stuff that I went through.
Right.
But you have to get to a point where you make that decision. I got to stop. And it's not always easy because it's like that alcohol, drugs, that was your friend. You always knew what was going to happen when you went and met up with that, the feeling that you'd get. Don't always know what you're going to feel the next day, but
I'd say, where are you going to wake up?
Yeah. Where are you going to wake up? How are you going to wake up? That kind of stuff. But I don't know. I don't know if it's better to do it because you want to do it, or it's better that you're doing it for somebody else. But I guess the point is just do it.
Yeah.
Gotta quit.
Yeah, but you and I both, did it because of, other people, right?
Yeah. Then, I mean, eventually you start saying, you know what, I got to do this for me.
Well, I mean, that initial spark, right?
The initial spark was, I like those shows where they have the interventions and people are like, okay, this is what you can keep doing what you're going to do, but if you keep doing it, this is going to be the consequences. You will no longer be in my life. And I took that in consideration when I decided to quit. I quit on my own. Nobody put me in that position, but that was going through my head. If I don't change, I'm going to lose my family altogether. Now it put a strain on the family for, I still don't know if my kids have really gotten over it. I've got one kid that swears up and down, hey, it's all over with, Dad. You're not the same person.
Yeah.
And I've not let my grandkids see me like that, so they don't know what Grandpa was like before then. But can you kind of take me through the process of, when you've made that decision, what did you do in order to achieve what you've achieved now?
Well, I've always been like really determined, right? And so, and I think like, I think people with not all, not obviously not everybody, but a lot of people with, substance abuse issues have, they're determined, right? We're determined to, to self-sabotage ourselves, to put pain in our life. We feel at some level, we feel like we deserve that pain, right? We think it's from the pleasure of the alcohol, but like, when you really look at all the damage that it does, like the pleasure that it offers is a very small, reward for, what it actually causes, like all the damage that it causes. So deep down, I think we are really determined people to cause pain, you know. And it's not just you know, I didn't realize this until recently, like until I met my wife. Like she has some food, some issues around food, right? And you think we got it bad, right? With abusing alcohol or drugs or whatever. I mean, food is something like you got to eat, you know.
Yeah.
You got to eat to stay alive. So if you have, if you've got an issue around food, man, that is tough. That is like, so I mean, for people out there with that are dealing with food addiction, like, I feel your pain. I've seen my wife go through it. We've worked on that with her, and she's at a place now where she is, she's moving past that. I mean, it's still a battle because, like, you eat, you gotta eat, right? So it's just a lot more conscious now. But for me, like, the process is, I was in Vietnam. Like I said, I was just a complete mess. I called my brother. I was like, dude, I'm at rock bottom. I've lost everything. I've lost the business of, the work that I was doing is gone. The girl that I was with, she's gone, like everything. I got nothing. I'm 30, I'm almost 30. I think I was 35 at the time. I was like, I'm broke in every way imaginable. And he was like, come on, man, come back. We'll sort you out, we'll get you on your feet. So I came home, I hadn't seen my family in years, and, everybody was happy to see me, and, yeah, don't worry, get you on your feet. And when I got back, I left America. Part of it was, definitely I was running away, the cocaine, but I also, like, for me, I wanted to do some different things, and just America didn't really seem like the place that I wanted to do my things in. So I got back and I realized, like, America's a great country, I don't want to be here. So I was like, how can I, like, get myself out of the situation? And I'd gotten pretty good at, like, getting myself out of pretty bad situation. So I was like, all right, I like traveling. I'm a good writer. What I'm gonna do? All right, all right, I'll get on a bicycle, I'll ride across the country, and then I'll write a blog. I'll start a blog, and then I'll write about the places that I go, and, like, I'll be a travel writer. And so it started off like it was a really good idea. And I started on the East Coast on Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, like on the beach. I started there, and I started riding across, and I would exchange write-ups on my blog, on my website, for restaurants and B&Bs, and I got a few places, and I was sleeping outside a lot, and living a life, as a, I guess, touring cycle guy, and but it never really took off. Nothing. I spent 6 months on the bike, and I made it to the West Coast, but it just never took off like I wanted it to. And I guess, 6 months is not a lot of time to expect something to take off. If I wanted to do it right, then I should have saved more money, and I should have planned on being out for, at least a couple of years, right? So anyway, I chalked that up as another failure, and add that on top of, like, me being a failure. And then at that point, my aunt and uncle were like, come back, and we'll help you out. So I started working. I was doing bartending jobs and all kind of other stuff, but I was still drinking like a fish. And then my aunt got breast cancer, and that was like, and my aunt and uncle, they were just really successful people. So I saw that, and I was like, man, these people have worked their butts off. They've done all the right things. Like, and here am I, like, I've done all the wrong things. I'm drowning myself in alcohol. This woman, who's, killed it her whole life, is actually getting killed by something that she didn't even, do to herself. Right. I was like, dude, like, get it together. Like, and that was it. I mean, that was the breaking point. It was like, all right, if you're not going to do it for yourself, at least, for somebody else. And, and that was a wake up call that I got.
I tell you, those things make you think.
Yeah, man.
But okay, so you do you do this online?
Yeah, it's just amazing. So we use self muscle testing. Self muscle testing it was a game changer for me because when I went on my self improvement thing, my journey, muscle testing was one of the things I learned about pretty early on, and I had some experience with it before. But muscle testing was like a two-person thing. So one person stands with their arm extended, and then the person asking the question stands behind them or whatever, beside them, with their fingers on top of the arm. And when you ask a question that elicits a yes, then the arm stays strong. But the body can't hold a falsehood and that muscle strength at the same time. So a no answer and the arm drops, right? And I was like, that's a cool party trick, but I don't know how would I ever use that, right? I'm kind of an introvert and I like doing things on my own. So I was like, I just dismissed it. But and I went through all these other courses and books and things and nothing, like I got nothing until I met up with this guy that did this spiral work. And so he did the self muscle test and I was like, that works? He's like, yeah, of course, and he took me through and I was like, dude, you're connecting with emotions that like I've buried, and we found ages, we found the emotion, we found the circumstances surrounding them, all with this muscle testing, and it is amazing. And when I went through it with him, I was just blown away. But then when I started using it on myself, I was just thoroughly blown away because the muscle testing, the way that I do it is I use my left hand as my control hand, and I make a ring with my index finger and my thumb. And my testing hand, for me, I'm right-handed, so I use my thumb and pinky finger, and just basically make two rings. Just interlock the rings like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the same principle with the arm muscle testing. So a yes, and they stay, the rings stay together, no, and it pulls apart, yes, no, yes, no. And it takes a while before you can get comfortable with getting that yes and no answer. For me, it took almost a month because we shut down that voice. We ignore that voice in our head, that I guess the intuition or, so we've stopped listening to ourselves when we were children. First we listened to our parents, then it's our teachers, then it's our friends, and then it's our coworkers, right? So listening to our own body, like that's an afterthought that's like been gone for decades, right? So it takes some time for you to reestablish that link with your body. And the way you do, way you start training with muscle testing is basically, I started just asking like obvious questions, like, all right, my wall is white. Yes, my wall is white. My wall is blue. No, it's not blue. So then you test the things in your environment, then you test the way you feel, and then you can get, once you get that yes and no, once you're comfortable with what is yes and what is no, what is yes, what is no, then like you've established that trust, you've reestablished that trust with your body, with your subconscious, and then you can go in using this meridian chart. Here, I'll show you 1 second. I'll take the blur off. Yeah, here's the meridian chart that we use, and it's got fire, earth, metal, water, wood, and all the different meridians. And in each side of each of the meridians are the organs in that meridian, and then the emotions that are found in those corresponding organs. So that's a map of the body. So we can go through and find out like where are these emotions and where they're hiding. And then we can also find out, using yes or no questions, you can find out what age these emotions popped up, what were the circumstances around it. And you can dig deep and really get into the experience of that emotion and the seed that was planted. And then there are corresponding release points. For example, like the kidney and the bladder release point, anxiety. This is a good one, actually. If you ever feel anxious, there's a point like right underneath your collarbones, right? So if you take I do my middle finger and my thumb, just hold hold that point right underneath the collarbones, and then just take a deep breath. Really helps you take a couple of big breath in and then big breath out. That'll help you releasing anxiety. So yeah, we use this work, it's like detective work, and we go in and find these emotions. We use the corresponding release points. Another thing that I came up with is as I was going through this process, and I was learning and developing this work even more, one of the biggest emotions that I experienced was anxiety. And so my wife was going through some Reiki training at the time, and she was helping me like really deal with the anxiety, because man, it was heavy. Like it would just overcome me, and I was just like, I would shake, and I would just like, I would start freaking out, and I was like, oh my God, am I losing my mind? Like, what is going on? And she really helped me move through that. But again, I was like, I don't want to rely on her. Like, I want to be able to do this on my own. And so one day I just had one of these intuitive sparks. I was doing the work and finding the emotions that I was letting go. And I came up with the Amo breath. And Amo in Spanish means I love. The program that I now take people through is called Amo Ni. So Amo in Spanish means I love, Ni in Chinese means you. So together, the two words literally translate into I love you, which is what I want the individual to say to themselves at some point through in the course that we do. And if they don't, like, if I take someone through the course and like they are not at that point, then like they pay nothing. So anyway, yeah, so I came up with this Amo breath. And so Amo in Spanish means I love. So Amo is spelled A-M-O. With the first part of the breath, it's a ah, and we're imagining light coming down from the universe down through the top of our head, our throat, and into our chest. And with the M is a and it's a humming. It's a big humming sound. And with that hum, we're actually stimulating the vagus nerve, which is also like an emotional reset. Like we're hitting the emotions that we find from a bunch of different angles to help move them. And then with the O, with the M, we connect with that emotion when we find it. We also use some mental exercises to connect with it and imagine where it is in our body. And when we swirl that breath in our chest with the we're imagining the emotion like being collected, like kind of like spider webs or like wisp of smoke into that light energy in our chest. And with the O, it's like oh, we expel it out through our chest, kind of like there was an 80s cartoon like the Care Bears. They like shoot like love or whatever through their hearts, right? So, and then like as I started doing that, like my anxiety just like disappeared, and I was still able to move the emotions and actually help me move the emotions even more effectively and like connect with them on a deeper level. And then, so it's muscle testing, the meridian release points, the Amo breath, and then finally at the very end of each session, what I do is we use neuro-linguistic programming to like grease the wheels of intention and send them further down the path of their hopes, dreams, and wishes, and get them to like magnetize their future results and bring it to the present moment.
Yeah, I've actually talked to some people that were talking about how you need to feel this emotion that you've tried to suppress, and they go back and talk about whatever it is that caused those emotions that you're trying to hide from. And one lady was telling me about tapping. Do you do that too?
I've heard about it. That was one of the things that I tried, and it didn't really resonate with me. But I talked with an individual the other day, and same thing, tapping. Like she stopped drinking using tapping. So man, if it works, like use it, find, if you're listening out there, like if you find something that resonates with you and like, do that thing.
Yeah, whatever works, and it's why I have the show there. I bring people on that have different ways of dealing with, physical pain, mental pain.
Yep.
There's so many, different things you can do. Like I said, the tapping and meditation. I mean, you name it. There's always something other than throwing medicine down your throat.
Man, that's the thing. We have been so conditioned, and it's been a great marketing campaign by the medical and the pharmaceutical industries to convince us that we've given all our power away and we put it in a pill or a shot or a concoction, right? It's like we were so capable of healing, but the messed up part is like, most people now are conditioned to the point that like if they get sick, they immediately go see a doctor, or they go to the pharmacy, But if you go to the doctor, you think about the process when you go to a doctor. You go to the doctor, you put all your hope and belief in this doctor, and then for you to even start healing, he's got to write you a permission slip, a permission slip that you take to another individual who then has the power, to give you at the pharmacy, right? The pharmacist he's the guy that dispenses the drug. So, if you think about it, we have been conditioned to believe that we cannot heal.
Exactly.
And it's sad, man. It really is. And like, I would not be here if it was not for modern medicine, right? I would have been dead in my 20s. So like, doctors, I'm not talking junk, you guys have saved my life, and you do that with countless, like millions of people daily, right? But, there's a time and a place for medicine, right?
Yeah.
And it's not needed as often as it's prescribed.
When I first got sick and I found out I was diabetic and, I'd had a heart attack and all this other garbage. All right. So they put me on insulin. They put me on glipizide, and they put me on metformin.
All
right. So I'm taking all three of those for diabetes. And then there was the statins, and, I had to watch my blood pressure. So you're talking blood pressure pills. You're talking about, what else was it? Oh, the blood thinners. And there was the heart medicine. And I mean, just pill after pill after pill after pill. Now, the best thing that I feel that anyone can do, and I have to stress this, I am not a doctor. Don't take my word for it. I'm just telling you what worked for me, is when I started dieting. So eating leaner meats, eating green vegetables, staying away from all the sugars. I wasn't eating bread anymore. There are alternatives out there, by the way, and I get keto bread now. But and then I quit drinking and all that other junk that I'd been doing. Eventually, I was able to get off the glipizide and the insulin.
That's awesome, man.
But the thing is my dosage of even the metformin would sometimes make my blood sugar drop. And mind you, you better eat on time when you're taking any of that stuff. But my blood would drop, so I'd get sick from doing that. Went to a specialist, which was an endocrinologist. They regulated my medicine, and went to a dietitian, went to a heart specialist. I went to all these people, and I was able to reduce a lot of my medications. And at some point, I got to even just totally stop having to take any of that stuff.
Awesome.
But, I fought depression since I was about I guess about 10, 11, somewhere around there. And everybody goes through depression. I don't care who you are. Everybody on this planet has gone through depression at one point or another. If it's over an extended amount of time, of course, you really need to get help. But for the most part, you're down for a little while and then you're back to normal. But they put me on medicine for that. I got medicine for anxiety. I had medicine for PTSD, all this junk. Meditation. I got off all that stuff. I weaned myself off of it. I now meditate. Used to, I couldn't go into a crowd without freaking out. I can psych myself out before I get there. I'm telling you, there's alternatives to all these medicines. But once again, it's your body, your life. You do what's best for you. I'm just saying this is what happened for me. Now, all the things that I've gone through, I tried different techniques, holistic, guidance. I'll just put that. I got holistic guidance for people. I like to try different things, everybody's got their own techniques, and some of them, like we said, it works better for others than it does for someone else. But before we go any further, I'd ask you, what is the website that you have?
Yeah, no problem. Amo Ni, AmoniClear.com. So it's AMONICLEAR.com. That's the best place to reach me.
Okay. And what about social media?
Yeah, I got social stuff. I guess I'm gonna start building out, paying more attention to my YouTube channel. I got a couple, maybe almost 100 videos on my YouTube channel. The rest of the stuff is just obligatory. I don't even, I post stuff there, but then I don't even really interact. So yeah, YouTube's the best place. So yeah, you can search for Bo Bissett or Amo Ni on YouTube. Or you can go to the website, and that's the hub to find everything else. So the website's the best place.
I'll put the link in the description so people can click on it and go to it.
Cool, man. Thanks a lot.
But so what plans do you have for the future?
Wow. Keep doing what I'm doing. Personally, my future is, I'm a little bit things have been kind of coast, but then right now things are kind of, and that it's getting a little bit it's getting heated when the locals are starting to talk about it. So I'm in Taiwan, and so the whole China-Taiwan thing's been going on for the last 100 years. Yeah. But it's always been most of the locals, if you ask them about it, they're like, it's whatever, But now it's starting to get to the point where people are, actually starting to talk about it. So it's not a if, it's a when. So for me, that's one thing that I'm kind of
it's got to be scary.
Back of my head. Yeah, it's in the back of my head. What happened with Russia and Ukraine right now, right? So I think China's just kind of looking back and saying nobody's gonna do anything. What are we waiting for?
Man, I don't know how I would feel being right in the middle of all that, but you're right there.
I know it's tough though, man. This is it's a paradise. I love Taiwan. It's a beautiful little island. It's just, the people are sweet. The food's great. The weather's nice. I'm sitting in a house right now. We live on, most of the locals love living in the city, right? And my wife and I, we have a place on the mountain overlook. I'm looking at the Pacific Ocean right now. And it's beautiful. And so yeah, I don't know what would happen. So for me personally, I'm kind of just living and taking day by day right now.
I understand that.
Yeah, but it's summertime too, right? So we got some nice weather, and so yeah, it's something in the back of our head, but we try not to let it, dominate our thoughts.
Yeah, we're supposed to live for the day and not be looking to what could happen. But I'm sorry, man. I worry about those kind of things. I keep my eyes open, my mind open, my ears open, 'cause you never know. But
Yeah. I tell you, one of the best things I've ever done for my own personal life was like just stop reading news. I hear about China and Taiwan, from my aunt in America, right? She's like, "Did you see?" I was like, "No, I didn't." She was like, "You need to watch the news." I was like, "I don't. Do I? I don't think I do." I got a pretty nice view. I'm sure, if something happens, I'm gonna see, I'll see him coming.
Yeah, I got a buddy of mine. He quit watching the news. He stays out of any conversations that have to do with what's going on in the world and politics and all that stuff. And his life has changed in so many ways.
Yeah.
He says that we have an addiction to this news.
I think so. I really do. I cheat every once in a while. I look at ESPN, and because for the longest time that was my only news, and then I started paying attention to the stuff that I was reading on ESPN. And a lot of men give. I know, back 20 years ago, men used to give women some flack about watching soap operas and stuff, right? Because all the drama. But if you go and look on ESPN, how all the drama that they create about this person doing that, this person saying that, it's like a man's version of a soap opera. It's so funny.
It really is. It's ridiculous. We can say, you and I can both say that we can remember when MTV played music videos and when ESPN talked about sports.
Yeah, exactly.
The world, we have to change it.
We're doing a good job, man. You're doing it daily, with the people that you're talking to, and by you providing this platform for people, and sharing your story, Kyle. Dude, you and you're doing it, man. You're actually helping and changing the world. So for what you're doing, man, and sharing your platform with me so I can share my message, man. I'm so grateful. I just really appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. Really, I really mean that. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Well, and thank you for your time, because I know our time zones are quite a bit off.
Back at you, because I know you stayed a little bit late today for me. So thank you. You gave me an extra hour of sleep today, so I really appreciate that.
It's no problem at all, man. Really. Well, for all of you out there, if you are new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. I ask that you please subscribe. If you are a regular, thank you for your support. It's because of you that we do what we do. And I can't tell you how happy y'all have made me for the subscribers that I've gotten over the last couple of months. It has really taken off, and the hours watched has grown exponentially. And I can't tell you how grateful I am. But until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network